My husband kept 3 mistresses, each one fair-skinned and beautiful, a perfect picture of tranquil grace. I once saw one of them from afar, arm in arm with my husband, carrying herself like a true lady of the house. After my husband left, I paid her a visit. She grew flustered and tried to shut the door on me. "Little sister," I said, "I am willing to welcome you into the household with a status equal to my own. In return, this position of a mistress, let me have a turn in it, shall you?" I had been a drudge for Austin for half my life, and had successfully aged myself into a haggard woman. I looked at the mistress he kept at his country estate, fair-skinned, beautiful, living a life of peaceful leisure. I thought of how I had poured my heart and soul into this marquisate for half my life, only for my husband to still prefer the young and beautiful in the end. The woman in the manor gave him peace of mind. The women outside gave him pleasure. And I got half a lifetime of grief. It wasn't fair. When I saw the most beautiful of his mistresses parading down the main street on my husband's arm, I decided that rather than exhausting myself to support them, I would become one of them. I knocked on Serafina's door. I promised her that I would welcome all of them into the manor as official concubines, and that I would even hand over the keys and tokens of household authority. Hearing this, she said with delight, "I never knew you were so magnanimous, my lady. We are not worthy of even a fraction of your grace." I shook my head. "You are mistaken, little sister. Your fair skin and beauty are the envy of all. If I hadn't diligently managed the family finances and businesses, how could all of you mistresses be so well fed and pampered, with skin like porcelain?" She lowered her head shyly. "The Marquis treats me like a precious pearl, so delicate he fears I might melt in his hands." I nodded in approval. "With your snow-white skin and flower-like face, you deserve no less." Seeing me change the subject, she brought up the keys again. "My lady, will you truly grant me the power to manage the household?" "Of course, little sister. A promise is a promise. Whichever of you he spends his first night with as an official concubine, I will grant the authority to manage the household." I paid 3 such visits, delivering the same message each time. "If I don't let you little vixens experience the hardship of managing a household and the pain of a husband's indifference, and let that philandering ghost experience the chaos of a restless home, how will he ever remember my contributions?" That night, as I was unpinning my hair, Marquis Austin rarely embraced me. Usually, seeing my aged face, he would find an excuse to sleep in his study. "My lady, you are truly understanding to be so generous." I sneered inwardly, but feigned sincerity. "I love what my husband loves. It is only natural. To think I was a petty person. That is a small-minded view, my lord." I broke free from his grasp, pretending to be angry. He took my hand and pulled me into his arms. The night was long, and he was vigorous. I was thoroughly disgusted. Afterwards, I moved away from him, already planning my next steps. Within a few days, I spent a considerable sum to have the 3 mistresses brought into the manor on the same day, one after another, all with great pomp and circumstance. Outsiders praised my virtue and generosity, saying I had the bearing of a true matriarch. I couldn't stop smiling because I had achieved my goal. On the day of their arrival, the 3 mistresses bickered endlessly over who would enter first, urging their sedan bearers to race each other to be the first through the gates. As a result, the sedan of Serafina, the husband's favorite, was overturned, and she was thrown out, tumbling to the ground. The onlookers roared with laughter, teasing, "Marquis Austin, taking 3 concubines at once. You'll surely throw out your back tomorrow." The waves of laughter forced Austin to maintain a strained, awkward smile. "What are you all doing?" he roared at the 3 women. I placed a hand on my husband's arm. "My lord, you must be the one to decide this. You must establish their hierarchy, or the sisters will surely harbor resentment." He lowered his voice. "Serafina first, then Mina, then Clara." I couldn't suppress a smile and went to see the guests to their seats. After the banquet, I caught my slightly drunk husband. "My lord, you must think carefully about whose room you will visit tonight." I had told all 3 of them. Whoever Austin spent the night with would receive the authority to manage the household. I even had the keys and tokens ready. As soon as tonight's drama was over, I would go to my country estate for a period of rest and recuperation, to take care of my own health. Austin was in a difficult position. I had been married to Austin since I was 15, which meant I was the product of my parents' years of meticulous upbringing, a true lady of a great house. The skills I possessed were not something those mistresses, who knew only jealousy and rivalry, could acquire overnight. Austin went to Serafina's room, but the other two were not to be outdone. Mina began to vomit, sending her maid to fetch the Marquis from Serafina's room. I summoned a doctor, who said it was nothing serious. Mina used this as an excuse to keep Austin in her room. "My lord, please stay with me tonight. You have favored Sister Serafina for so long. It is my turn to be spoiled." Mina's hand crept up to Austin's face. I smiled sweetly, excused myself, and prepared to return to my own chambers. But just as I was about to leave, Clara's maid arrived to summon Austin, saying her mistress was dizzy and missed the Marquise terribly. I quietly left the room and returned to my own. "My lady, why not stay and watch the rest of the show?" I had seen and heard enough of these tricks from my socializing with noblewomen. There was nothing new here. "They can't cause much of a stir. Go and place the keys and tokens in the Marquise's study. He won't be able to go to any of their rooms tonight, but I cannot be the one to play the villain." I sat at my vanity and unpinned my hair. My maid, Jade, nodded in agreement. I meanwhile sat at my desk and began to write letters. 10 letters in total, all addressed to the stewards who had managed my family's properties when I married into the marquisate. This was to ensure my own financial security. The next day, the 3 new concubines were waiting outside my room early in the morning to pay their respects. Having gotten no result from the Marquise, they naturally came to me to vie for the household authority. I arrived in full regalia, a smile on my face. "Sisters, you have waited long. I presume you are here for the keys and tokens." However, I was quite exhausted from entertaining our guests yesterday. I only know that the Marquis went to Lady Serafina's, and then to Lady Mina's, but I do not know where he ultimately spent the night. No one answered. They just looked at each other. Finally, Serafina spoke. "The Marquis, he slept in the study. Oh, how could that be?" I feigned surprise, then offered false comfort. "Well, no matter. In that case, let the Marquis decide. I fear I will not see a result today. The carriage to take me to my country estate is already waiting outside. I have instructed the servants to leave the keys and tokens in the Marquise's care." Hearing this, the 3 concubines didn't even finish their tea before rushing to Austin's study. I smiled at Jade. It seems that Guest was right. He will not be able to stand up straight tomorrow. I left the mess for Austin to handle and went to my country estate with my maids and servants. I announced that I was recuperating from an illness, so no one would gossip. I went from being an actor in the play to a spectator. I ate pastries and listened to the reports from the spy I had planted in the marquisate. "Greetings, my lady." The messenger was a servant I had brought with me from my family Felix. Before I left, I had instructed him to keep an eye on the manor. I gestured for him to continue. "The 3 ladies have been restless, all wanting the keys and tokens from the Marquis. The Marquis first gave them to Lady Serafina, which made the other 2 extremely dissatisfied, and they began to cause trouble for her at every turn. The 2 of them were already unhappy with Lady Serafina from the day they entered the manor. Lady Serafina, holding this new grudge, often withheld food and clothing from Lady Mina and Lady Clara. Lady Mina is of a delicate constitution, and had always been treated by renowned physicians hired by the Marquis. Now, with nothing, she has fallen gravely ill." Jade listened with great interest. I asked her, "Jade, what do you think?" "My lady, it is the classic tale of the snipe and the clam. The fisherman always wins." I laughed. "But the prize they are fighting for is something I no longer want." Felix continue. "After the Marquis found out, he took back the authority and has now given it to Lady Clara. I sent Felix back to continue his watch. Winter was coming, and snow would soon fall. I had Jade prepare winter clothes. In previous years, I had always prepared the winter garments for the Marquis and my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was fastidious. She required coats made from the newest cotton, and designed by the finest tailors in the capital in the latest fashion, which she would only wear for her purification rites and prayers. Now, let's see what Lady Clara was capable of. As expected, a month into the winter snow, Lady Clara, having gained household authority, took excellent care of Austen, but she failed to prepare new winter clothes for my mother-in-law. Thinking the old woman lived far away and rarely went out, she assumed she wouldn't care for fashionable styles and chose a mediocre design. My fastidious mother-in-law berated her soundly. Clara felt deeply wronged and went to cry to Austen. But Austen couldn't be bothered with such matters, and found her tedious for not being able to handle something as simple as clothing. This Clara, however, was a natural at managing the household. She devoted her entire day to the affairs of the manor. Although she had failed with my mother-in-law's clothes, she knelt before her and humbly apologized, which temporarily appeased the old woman. Though she held the power, the daily toil left her exhausted. In a short time she had aged considerably. Austen liked his women young, fair, and beautiful. Clara may have had the authority, but Austen spent his nights in Seraphina's room, which bred resentment in Clara's heart. Clara had someone mix a powder that would disfigure her into Seraphina's cosmetics. Seraphina's face broke out in sores, and she was in agony. Austen, who prized beauty above all else, ordered a strict investigation. Listening to Jade recount the events at the manor, I felt as if my eyes had been opened. "My lady, what are your plans? Should you return now?" I chuckled. "They haven't even killed each other yet. Why should I go back? It is rare to get such a long show. I might as well watch a bit more. Besides, I need to see about that young Master Quentin I hired a fortnight ago. Find a physician to check my pulse and see if I am with child. Young Master Quentin is handsome. With a strong physique, you will surely conceive a son," Jade said with a shy look. I teased her. "One day, I'll find a husband just like him for you." She blushed and said I was being improper. I sighed. I hoped I would conceive a son. Otherwise, enduring the disgust of sharing a bed with Austen would have been all for naught, fruitless and utterly distasteful. Austen thought the problem was with me. For the sake of his pride, I had endured it. Since he thought he was fertile, I would grant him a child to comfort him. After the physician checked my pulse, it was confirmed. I was pregnant. A fortnight of hard work was finally about to bear fruit. And it wasn't just me who was bearing fruit, the manor had exploded. Austen never imagined Clara could be so vicious. He immediately gave her a letter of divorce. Clara, deeply wronged, stood at the gates of the manor, shouting that Austen was a heartless man, that he wasn't like this when he married her. The news of the chaos in Austen's household spread through the capital. People quickly connected my recuperation at the country estate with his taking of concubines. The reputation of favoring concubines over his wife was firmly attached to his name. It was winter, and Clara had nowhere to go. She lingered around the manor, but her proud spirit couldn't bear it, and she froze to death at the gates. The matter escalated. A death, and of a properly married concubine soon. The accusation of Austen mistreating his concubines reached the emperor's ears. The emperor was furious and demoted him, ordering him to stay home and manage his household. "My lady, one is dead, one is disfigured, and you are with child. Should you return now?" Jade asked tentatively. I laughed. "Return for what? The play is only half over. If I go back now, they won't have had a chance to finish their performance. Since Austen was so fond of those beautiful women, let him experience the hardships I had endured for so many years. Suffering is best when shared." He had not yet fully tasted the bitterness of my years of loneliness and hard work. Now that the mantis and the cicada had been chosen, it was time for the oriole to make its entrance. I had Jade write a letter, instructing Felix to deliver a scar-removing medicine to Seraphina, and a treatment for her frail health to Mina. I also ordered a lavish burial for Clara, which quieted the gossip. "My lady, why are we cleaning up their mess?" Jade asked, confused. "For the sake of the firstborn son in my womb, so that he will be welcomed back with the importance he is due." The news of my pregnancy had to be known by all. As expected, after these actions, the storm subsided somewhat. But Austen's reputation as a debauched philanderer was now common knowledge among the noble families and common folk of the capital. If any other woman were to be foolish enough not to learn from Clara's example, then she was fated to die. Austen realized that his concubines, aside from being beautiful and skilled at serving him, were essentially empty-headed. He rode a magnificent horse and brought a lavish carriage to my country estate to welcome me back. "My lady, your husband has come to take you home." I refused to open the door. The gossip in the capital had already crushed him. Now, he desperately needed me to return and take control. But when you ask for help, you must humble yourself completely. Seeing I was unmoved, Austen dismounted and knocked on the door himself. The door remained shut. He turned to leave. Felix stepped forward. "My lord, the manor is in chaos. The Emperor has ordered you to sort out your household before returning to court. Only the lady can help you now. Please, knock again." Hearing Felix's words from inside, I thought to myself, he truly is a credit to my family. Austen turned back and bowed. "I implore you, my lady, open the door." He then gestured for his servants to shout in unison, and he bowed 3 times. I smiled sweetly. The slap had been delivered. Now it was time for a sweet treat. I had Jade open the door and personally went to help Austen up. "My lady, you have finally come out." I smiled but said nothing. Inside the carriage, Austen complained that the mistresses were useless, turning the manor into a chaotic mess. Now one was dead, one disfigured, and one bedridden. I said, "My husband, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. These sisters were once the apple of your eye. Why do you speak of them so dismissively now?" He looked at my face, continuing to complain. "My lady, you don't know what I've been through these past days. I haven't eaten or slept well. I've had to worry about the Emperor's reprimand, endure the ridicule of my fellow officials, and listen to the curses of the common folk." As he looked at me, his gaze fixed on my face. "Wait, my lady, how have you become so beautiful? Your skin is no longer sallow. It is as if you have taken some divine elixir." After all that complaining, he finally noticed my beauty. What woman isn't beautiful before marrying her husband? I sighed. Alas, perhaps it was the stress of managing such a large household. Coming to the country estate has eased my mind, which is why I am glowing with health again. What a joke. If a wife could live as leisurely as a mistress, how could she age and lose her husband's affection? Austen seemed to have an epiphany. Alas, it is all my fault. I have made you suffer. My lady, I promise you, when we return, I will treat you as I did in the beginning, and will not dally with other women again. He spoke with sincerity, but I didn't believe a word of it. After all, the moment I decided I no longer wanted you, I had already begun to plan your removal from the rest of my life. I didn't answer, just lowered my head and placed a hand on my abdomen. After returning to the manor, I began to vomit. Austen summoned a physician, who announced that I was with child. The timing was perfect, right around the time I left the manor. He would have remembered that one night he spent in my room and would have no reason to doubt. He treated me like a precious treasure. This child was not only his heir, but also a way to repair his reputation. The Emperor would no longer reprimand him. But he didn't know he was sterile. To be safe, while Austen was at court petitioning the Emperor, I summoned Seraphina and Mina. Learning of my pregnancy, they were both skeptical. After being with Austen for so long, they had their suspicions about his fertility. I sat in the main hall, stroking my belly with a smile. "Sisters, you have worked hard managing the household lately. Now that I am with child, if it is a boy, he will inherit the title. You will both be his honorary mothers, and will not be treated unfairly." The olive branch had been extended. Whether they chose to join my side was their decision. The two of them were silent for a long moment before one said, "My lady, to have let us into the manor, you are clearly no ordinary person. We are willing to follow your lead." Disfigured and in poor health, they needed money to survive. And that philandering ghost Austen, now that his reputation was on the mend, would surely seek out new beauties. If they didn't choose me, Their only other option was death. I smiled and nodded. They were smart enough. Austen returned from court in high spirits. It seemed his wish had been granted. That night, he came to thank me, calling me his lucky star. My lady, you are my confidante and the lucky star of our household's prosperity. After so many years without children, to think we would conceive now. Excellent, excellent. I, Austen, finally have a son. I teased him. It has only been a short while. Do not speak so rashly. Whether it is a boy or a girl has nothing to do with you. I suppressed my disgust and handed him a cup of tea. After he drank it, I asked him which concubine's room he would visit. He frowned in distress. Alas, I wonder if my lady could take me in. I have nowhere else to go. How could I possibly let him stay? But, with the child in my womb, I cannot possibly take care of you, husband. Please, be considerate. He left, dejected, and spent the night in his study. I knew that a leopard cannot change its spots. Soon, he would be back to his old ways of not coming home at night. I instructed Seraphina and Mina to find a few beautiful women from the brothels who were suffering from consumption. Rather than letting him ruin good girls, it was better to let these women receive treatment at the manor. When my husband returned to find 3 stunning beauties waiting for him, he was overjoyed, calling me the best wife in history. But I said, this was all Seraphina and Mina's idea. They found these ladies to serve you. You should thank them for their thoughtfulness. He was delighted and took them all in, which increased the chances of him getting infected. After a few days of pleasure, he began to feel unwell, as if he had contracted a serious illness. He was listless and took leave from court, summoning the imperial physician. Needless to say, he had consumption. This gave me a good deal of peace. I instructed the physician to prescribe the best medicine and also to treat the other women. Who brought these sick women into the house? Austen raged from his bed, scolding the 2 concubines. I stood before them protectively. My lord, you must be fair. They brought these ladies here to please you. You cannot enjoy their company in good times, and then blame them in bad. Oh, imperial physician, I feel so awful. I think I am dying. I listened to him wail and covered my mouth to hide a smile, along with the other concubines. The entire manor was abuzz with the news that the Marquise had been infected with a serious disease from a woman outside, and the ghostly howls at night were his. Using the child as an excuse, I kept my distance from Austen and spent my days playing mahjong with the concubines. It was a delightful life. Seraphina covered her face and said, "Thank you, my lady, for your generosity in tolerating us. From now on, whatever you say, we will do." Seeing their sincere submission, I had Jade hand over some of the household management to them. I would guide them from the side. The days flew by. Austen's illness had not fully healed, but he couldn't resist going out to indulge himself again. He ended up getting all the other women sick. Now, wherever he went, he was treated like a plague. Even the officials at court avoided him. Oh, husband, why are you wandering around? If you pass this illness to me, what will happen to my child? Please, return to your room at once. I will have Felix disinfect this area. I covered my nose, feigning disgust. He felt ashamed and returned to his room. I had the servants throw out all his clothes and dishes and had his room and study cordoned off, isolating him from everyone else like a plague victim. Seraphina and Mina knew Austen was unreliable and focused on managing the household. No, I could confidently entrust some matters to them. The physician said I would be giving birth soon and there could be no complications. I had planned for everything, except for one thing. During my labor, young Master Quentin, whom I had hired at the country estate, heard I was having a difficult birth and insisted on forcing his way into the manor. Me husband heard someone had broken in and had him captured. Fortunately, I gave birth safely. Jade told me about it afterwards. I dragged my weary body up and had Jade report it to the authorities. That Quentin shouted at my husband, "You are not worthy of being her husband. You are a fickle man. How could you treat such a respectable woman this way?" Smack. Serafina rushed forward and slapped Quentin across the face. With her hands on her hips, she said, "Where did this pauper come from, daring to slander the matriarch of our household? Everyone knows the lady and the marquise are deeply in love." Good, I hadn't misjudged her. At least she knew to protect me. But this Quentin, I hadn't realized he was such an empty-headed fool. If it weren't for his good looks, which I wanted my son to inherit, I would never have considered him. I knew Austin was already suspicious. Right after giving birth, I sought him out. "Husband, in all our years of marriage, have I ever done anything to wrong you? You wanted concubines, and I welcomed them. You wanted a promotion, and I befriended the wives of officials for you. Even when the emperor reprimanded you, I rushed back to manage things. Now, while I am giving birth, a stranger breaks in, and you believe him. This is so unfair to me. Perhaps I should just dash my head against your door with our child in my arms to prove my innocence." I wept, but my words left no room for accusation. When I was with Quentin, it was always in the dark. Even if he were to identify me, I was not afraid. Austin cared deeply about his reputation. Though he had been childless for so long, he never believed he was the one who was sterile. Now, if this matter went to the authorities, and the child was proven not to be his infertility would be confirmed. If the child was his, he would be criticized for treating his wife so poorly. Besides, he knew how I had treated him over the years. I was betting he wouldn't investigate further. Even if he did, it would only bring him shame. But a part of me wanted him to. Hearing me threaten to kill myself and the child, he rushed out and took the baby from my arms. "My lady, how could I believe a stranger's words and doubt you? Please, get up." He signaled for Jade to help me up. But he did not reach for me himself. I knew I had to give him one final reassurance. "If you still do not believe me, then let that villain at the gate identify me. I am determined to prove my innocence." Austin was thoughtful. His silence was my consent. When I had recovered a little, I had the maids, Serafina, Mina, and the other 3 women dress in identical clothes and hairstyles, and stand in a line for Quentin to identify. He stood before the crowd of women, searching for me, but with so many similar figures standing together, and having never seen my face, he was at a loss. Austin told him to choose. He stammered and finally said he didn't know me, had never seen me. He was telling the truth, but it was not convincing. He was alone and helpless. Austin's suspicions vanished. He pulled. "Even in a sea of people, I would recognize my wife at a glance." Quentin stared at me, unable to look away. "So, that is what you look like. Sir, please be mindful of your words." I allowed Austin to lead me inside, signaling for Jade to deal with this reckless man who didn't know his place. Jade understood. While Austin was with the baby, Jade reported, "My lady, it is done. Before he died, he said that as long as you were well, he would be content." I laughed out loud. What kind of fool was he, not knowing his own place? If I could have a child on my own or with another woman, would I have sought him out? What a ridiculous fantasy. Well, all's well that ends well. A few days after giving birth, I was still a bit weak. I had Jade and the concubines take good care of the child and keep that sick man Austin away from him. I took good care of myself. A steady stream of tonics nourished me. From the moment I decided to plot against Austin, I knew that my health was everything. After I had fully recovered, I began to manage the household affairs again, only to find that the 2 concubines I had trained were now capable of handling things on their own. So I let them run the manor. I became a hands-off manager, spending my days sightseeing and chatting with the wives of officials. Austin often couldn't find the child and would come looking for me. Freed from the stress of managing the household, I grew more and more beautiful and charming. When I walked down the street, heads would turn. The other ladies would ask me for my beauty secrets. I would laugh and say, "There are no secrets. It is just that I have someone to worry for me." And then Austin would appear behind me. "My lady, I have been looking everywhere for you." Everyone would nod in praise of my cleverness. What need was there for cleverness? When a woman focuses only on herself, good fortune will follow. Husband, what brings you here? I feigned surprise. My lady, since giving birth, you have become even more enchanting. I cannot bear to be away from you. As soon as my official duties are done, I come looking for you. I knew he was just trying to flatter me, but few women want affection that comes too late. Now, I found it repulsive. I pulled away from his supporting hand. Husband, the other ladies' illnesses have all been cured. Tonight, I will arrange for them to serve you. He wrapped his arm around my waist. My lady, tonight, could you not? I pushed his hand away. Husband, you know that Victor cannot be without me. He always fusses for his mother at night. I felt utterly disgusted, but I had to wait for the right moment for Victor to inherit the title. The Emperor had not completely lost faith in Austen yet. The previous small storms were not enough to shake his position. So, it was time for something big. No risk, no reward. Austen, having been rebuffed by me and now wary of the other concubines, was surely restless. I invited the daughter of the Crown Prince's Grand Tutor to the manor. She had been a close friend in my childhood. The Grand Tutor was a supporter of the Crown Prince, while Austen was loyal only to the Emperor. They were political rivals. That day, he caught a glimpse of the Grand Tutor's daughter, Fiona, and was instantly smitten. But out of respect for her father, he dared not show it. I said to Fiona, Fiona, our father's political differences have kept us from being close. But you are still my friend now. I need your help to escape Austen. I need you to act in a play with me. She thought for a moment. Eleonora, tell me your plan. She pondered for a moment. Rest assured, I can handle this small matter for you. But how will you thank me? I laughed. You are Victor's godmother. Does a godmother need thanks from her godson? We looked at each other and smiled. That night, I announced to the household that the Grand Tutor's daughter was staying overnight. She did not like to be waited on, so I dismissed most of the patrols and servants. Then I just had to wait for the rabbit to walk into the trap. I had the 3 other women dress up as Fiona, and wait on the path Austen was sure to take. When Austen saw Fiona, he was overjoyed and followed her. The woman then teased him with a few words, and Austen, thinking Fiona was willing, was led to a darkened room. He couldn't wait. I had the woman repeat the words I had taught her. My lord, I am the Grand Tutor's daughter. Of course, tomorrow at court, I will ask the Emperor to decree our marriage. Though your father and I are political rivals, before the Emperor, he will have no choice but to agree. Fiona and I heard everything from outside. Afterwards, I had Fiona escorted home by a crowd of servants. Now we had a witness, and all that was left was for Austen to make a fool of himself before the Emperor. The next day, the woman, following my instructions, had already cleaned up and returned to her room. Austen went to court in high spirits. I was worried he might not actually ask the Emperor for the marriage, but he was truly infatuated. He declared in open court that he and Fiona were in love. My spies told me this infuriated Fiona's father, who called him a liar. When no one believed him, Austen hinted that Fiona had been the one to initiate things. This enraged the Grand Tutor, who demanded the Emperor judge the matter. Fiona was summoned for questioning. Your Majesty, I have been wronged. I was invited by Lady Eleonora to see her newborn son, only to be slandered by the Marquise. Please, Your Majesty, see the truth. I returned home last night with a full escort from the manor. You woman, how can you change your tune so quickly? Last night you were in my arms and today you deny it. Austen, of course, wouldn't know. All he cared about was his own pleasure. Who the woman was in the end didn't matter. The Emperor, unsure of the truth, sent someone to the manor to inquire. After learning the full story, the Emperor was furious, saying he was a debauched man who dared to scheme against the Grand Tutor's daughter, and even deceive the Emperor. I have tolerated your absurd behavior for too long, turning a blind eye to your antics. Now you dare to slander an innocent woman's reputation. Go and receive 50 strokes from the military rod. The Emperor had never been so harsh with an official. I thought that whatever favor he held in the Emperor's heart was finally gone. When Austen was carried back, I was playing with Victor and the other concubines. No one went to greet him. Only when he was being treated did I carefully instruct that the best medicine be used. Serafina, understanding my hidden meaning, applied a harsh medicine. Austin's condition worsened. The wound continued to bleed and looked horrifying. My lady, is it the wrong medicine? It should have healed by now. I laughed to myself. With a golden salve laced with filth. You could apply it until you are old and dead, and it would never heal. I looked at his dying body and decided to drop the pretense. Husband, the golden salve was laced with filth. It will only make your flesh rot into a crimson flower. It had been a long time since I had laughed so happily. Hearing this, he was stunned. What do you mean? I spoke without restraint. It means my child has grown, and it is time for you to abdicate. So your wound will not heal, cannot heal. You can only die. After you are dead, I will hold a funeral for you, and everything will be complete. Oh, and Victor is only my child. He was incredulous. The child is not mine? I replied. Of course not. You are sterile. How could the child be yours? Though Victor is another man's child, he has at least carried on your family line. In the end, you should be thanking me. After his initial shock, he fell from the bed in a frenzy and tried to grab the hem of my dress. I untied my sash. Here, you don't have to pull so hard. If you want it, you can have it. I threw the sash at him. He clutched it, his teeth grinding in hatred. Eleonora, you venomous woman. You are so cruel. So cruel. He passed out before he could finish his sentence. That night, Austin died. The next day, I held a funeral, announcing that he had passed away from a long illness. My mother-in-law had never cared about the affairs of the manor. Besides, Austin had never been a particularly filial son. I held little Victor's hand and wailed hysterically before the memorial tablet. My lady, please accept our condolences. The mourners all tried to comfort me, pitying me, but as soon as they left, I said, "Have the pallbearers arrived? It has been here so long. The smell is making me sick. Have someone come and take it away." All the proper procedures were followed. The coffin was sealed. No one would know. On the day of the funeral, the pallbearers looked at each other. "My lady, why is this coffin so light?" Mina stepped forward. "What nonsense are you talking? Do you not want your payment?" The pallbearers immediately fell silent. No one suspected his death. After all, his illness had been widely known. Victor smoothly inherited the title. The daily affairs of the manor were managed by the two concubines, leaving me free and at leisure. The other women who had been sick had long since been cured. I bought their freedom, and they all chose to stay with me. I didn't mind having a few more people around. As for Austin, I found his body too repulsive and had it thrown into a mass grave. I had given him a grand funeral, so no one could find fault with me. Except, inside that coffin, was nothing but air. When Victor was a little older, he asked me, "Mother, what did my father look like?" I laughed and told him, "Your father was a fool. Don't you ever be like him?"